Welcome, folks, to the latest edition of the Coaches Connect call. I'm Coach Jeremy. We have a lovely group of coaches here, and Coach Jeanette has already kicked us off with our first discussion for today. And just to summarize, so I can get everyone all caught up, Coach Jeanette is working with a new client who has previously had some experience working with a nutrition professional. This person, we're not entirely sure what their background was, but we'll apply the title of nutritionist here. And from this client's own kind of experience as they were recounting to Coach Jeanette, they were able to see positive results in that they saw some significant weight loss. But what was lacking there, it sounds like, was a relationship. And Coach Jeanette, just before we get some more feedback from you here, there's something I wanted to share because it reminds me of, I don't even know if this was a full piece of content that PN wrote. It may be in one of our previous articles, but there's something that Coach JB, so John Berardi, founder of PN, wrote when I was starting my coaching journey. And it was essentially at the end of our 12-month long coaching program, we often solicit feedback from the community at large, but sometimes from specific individuals. And what we're looking for is there anything we can do a little bit better? Is there anything that we can help to promote a better experience for clients? And what they found from one particular client was someone who had dropped close to, I believe it was like 20 or 30 pounds, a significant amount of weight. And when asked, would they recommend the PN coaching program or would they sign up again for the program, their answer was no. And when we did a little bit more digging, their response was, why wouldn't you recommend the program to others, or why wouldn't you continue with it? It's because they felt that they didn't really have a strong relationship with their coach. And that is something that is not a common response that we get from a lot of people, especially people who complete the entire 12 months of the program. And then people also who have a positive experience with the program. And something that we actively try to take action on to avoid in the future, to have more of a personalized approach, to have more opportunity for people to connect with their coaches. So I think that highlights a similar experience to what you're getting from your client right now, or from your client's previous experience. Getting weight loss and having an end result is great. It's what most people say they want when they sign up. But as I've said in the Coaching Business Kickstarter program and in other previous client or coaching calls, coaching is very much an energetic exchange between coach and client. Communication is very much at the core of what we do, and being able to forge a relationship with clients really is going to determine your success as a coach. And your experience of what you're talking to your client about here helps to reinforce that concept as well. So the result that you help a client achieve, fantastic, phenomenal, but it is the relationship that you forge with them that makes them want to share what you did with other folks, that keeps your name at the top of their consciousness and makes them want to tell other people who they know and like in their space to say, hey, I have this really great person, you should have a conversation with them. And maybe it was just that one interaction with that coach and that client, it missed the mark a little bit, because clearly they did a good enough job for someone else to say, hey, you should speak with this person. But this is an opportunity for you now to pick up the ball and run with it, and remember to try and avoid some of those previous mistakes.
Yeah. I want to catch what you said when you said, so the example you said, that person didn't feel like they had a relationship with their PN coach, so they wouldn't recommend. And then what did PN respond with something in action, or what was the follow-up? I just missed that part.
Yeah, so I mean, our follow-up is one, our team needs to be more aware of that. And there's probably, I believe this article or this insight that he shared was before I joined the team, so it predates me. So what happened with that is hard to say, but it is something that we regularly speak about in terms of it is a concern that we know our clients or some of our clients will have at the beginning of PN coaching, especially when we have larger groups of, let's say, like 150 to 300 people. It's a very relevant concern to be like, hey, am I going to have face-to-face time with my coach? Are they going to know who I am, or am I going to just kind of be a barcode or a number that they just see and then send kind of like generic responses to? Will they actually know me as a person? In one-on-one coaching, it's less of a concern than it is compared to our like large group coaching, but it is still something I think that require or is useful to highlight, that the level of relationship building that goes into that process is paramount. And I would say it's at least on par with the result that you deliver, especially as far as it goes to kind of the end stage of coaching and then looking for referrals.
Mhm. And when you're talking about group coaching or one-on-one, you're talking about like coach to client, not like precision nutrition coaching the coaches.
I mean, it probably makes some difference having the ability to connect with our community, like me being able to speak with folks here, Coach Kate holding webinars and things like that. If you were to send in, if you had some concern and you sent in a message and our level of response to you, if it feels like very generic, I'm sure that doesn't feel great. But if it feels like, hey, someone took the time to listen to my feedback, to address my concerns, and to uh, have more of what we term kind of like in a service industry as like a white glove experience, feeling like you are valuable and understood and your concerns uh, are worth addressing. Like that makes a difference in every experience that you have with a company and within your own service offering as a coach. So I wouldn't say it's completely different from PN's perspective to working with the coaches that we educate and the coaches we have in our community. There's definitely parallels there between what we do in our group coaching and what you as a coach would do for your service offering to the clients you work with.
So when you're saying a group of 100 to 300, that's like a coach having that many nutrition clients?
Yeah, so in our PN coaching program, so our next cohort starts July 21st, I believe. So today, early bird emails went out. So people have started registering for coaching there. We would anticipate between the men's and women's cohort, probably somewhere between 150 and 300 clients is like a normal size cohort.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
yeah, one of the questions we answer in every one of our orientation sessions is how is my coach going to know me? How do I connect with my coach? How do I have a conversation with my coach? That is always something that people are very concerned about. We'll get that question to the point that we just head it off and we answer the question before it gets asked, because we want folks to know, hey, we're not just robots. You're not speaking with AI. Like there are real people here. Because again, uh, the exchange between coach and client is incredibly important to help facilitate the relationship that we have and also to help facilitate the results that they experience. There's a reason why we haven't been completely overrun by apps just yet, because no one really connects with an app.
Yeah. Good. I like
Yeah,
it.
we want to keep it that way also. Uh, to get back to a little bit more of the kind of the core of your question before I took us on this tangent, uh, you had asked in the PN group, I believe it was a little bit about kind of uh, the first steps that you want to take with this client. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about maybe some of the background information she shared on her previous experience and what your thought process is to guide her on those first one or two steps?
I mean, if I just listen to her and see where she left off, she didn't struggle with calorie tracking, right?
Okay.
So if I wanted to meet her there and then g- give her a relationship and also help her tackle the the mind what's the word I'm looking for? Like the trap of drinking and socializing through habits, that's my instinct. I feel like if I was to have her just do hand portions or habits like eat slowly, it's like might feel too elementary for her because she did a good job of tracking to the point where she did lose the weight and she wants to continue with that, just wants to add in like tackling some like blind spots, or get some tools to tackle these challenges as well as have a coach that she feels she can have a relationship with, or that she feels like, yeah, connected to.
Cool. I mean, I have some thoughts in this area here, but I want to open up to our coaches. I've spoken way too much already. Coaches, what are your thoughts regarding a client coming in who has a previous history of, we'll call it a strong history of being able to create a dietary log? It's not something that they're overly seemingly concerned with right now. Are there any questions that you would ask, or any additional framing that you would use to help kind of create the path for that first initial uh, agenda that you're going to use with your client?
I think the
Stephen, what do you
question,
got?
yeah, I think the question I would ask here, and you may have already asked this, is why is this person now back seeking coaching? Because they had success with this method in terms of losing weight, but if they're now back seeking coaching, I'm assuming they probably put this weight back on or something has changed. So I would really dig into, even though they had success, was this really a sustainable approach for them? Or was it just something they could do for a short period of time? Or maybe there was an ideal situation in life that situation worked then, but it may not necessarily work now. I wouldn't just assume that it's a good approach just because they lost weight with it before.
Yeah, that's interesting. She said that she lost the weight of 7 pounds, and then she felt like she stopped losing weight. And she was starting to question this nutritionist because he'd never adjusted her calories. It was the same all the way through. So it didn't seem to make sense to her. Like, how come it's not changing? And then whenever she would exercise, MyFitnessPal would add calories for exercise. And then she would just like eat those extra calories as well, because it just increased her budget for the day, right? And so her allowance went up, and she would follow that. And so I think it sounds more like she just stopped completely trusting. Yeah, she definitely stopped trusting the coach. Uh, she was starting to do her own research and question things. She stopped seeing any more weight loss. So yeah, I mean, that sounds like enough in my mind to look for someone else.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would start to wonder, like, what was it, just the lack of a relationship that caused that trust to get lost, or was there something specific there? Because you just want to make sure you don't run into the same issue, right? It's like if it's all about, is the moment the scale stops moving, is she going to lose trust in you also? Because there's going to be plateaus, right? I mean, that's part of
Yep.
the process.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I said, she didn't see him adjust her calories at all. And I think it would make sense to adjust someone calories if they lost 7 pounds.
I have a question.
Potentially. So I'll finish my thought, Jason, and then I'll let you go next. I would say it would make sense to make that adjustment if further weight loss had stalled. And it sounds like that was kind of what was happening. I don't know how long the time scale was for that adjustment. It was like, hey, I'd lost 7 pounds in the first 4 weeks, and then for the next 8 weeks, no additional weight loss and no adjustments were made. That is something where it's like, okay, cool. Like, there's definitely more to that conversation to unpack. Uh, but Jason, what did you have to add in?
I just have a question. Does the client need to lose a lot more weight? Are they, or have they hit kind of what their weight loss goal was, and now they're looking to pivot to do something else, or did they just want to be held accountable just to stay engaged with somebody who they get along with and who's
She
going to give
wants to lose
advice?
more weight. Yeah,
They
she
want to,
more weight to lose,
how much more? Like a lot, or
like 20 pounds.
okay, yeah. Um,
10, we'll say 10. The magic number. Those last 10. But
Where
yeah,
life is
10,
magically
10,
different on the other side.
10-ish, right?
Now
10-ish.
is it he or she? I'm sorry.
She,
She was using MyFitnessPal with the previous nutritionist,
yeah.
and you use the pro use like the precision nutrition one, or
Pro
are you gonna are you gonna continue with MyFitnessPal with her?
Okay, so this is the follow-up, right? Like,
Mhm.
does Pro Coach offer calorie tracking at all anyway? What I have done in the past is used MyFitnessPal and Trainerize together so that um I can actually just look and see exactly what's logged in real time.
Mhm.
That's quite convenient.
You probably do this with the MyFitnessPal, but I always make sure it's always set up to where the client or the person or me is non-active, just so the calories are low. You can see what they eat still on MyFitnessPal, but once, like you said, she exercises and she sees she has a surplus of calories she could eat, and like that kind of throws everything off. That's just a suggestion on my part.
What's the suggestion to turn off the
The activity, like put them in, make sure they put themselves in as someone with no activity. So the calories would be,
The thing is, if they have a wearable connected, it's always
Mhm.
gonna log the activity. And I think it's okay to log the activity. There is a way to set it up so it doesn't then add to the budget for the day of calories.
No, the activity is okay. I'm thinking just their baseline caloric level before exercise. So if you put
Right.
them in as
So it sounds
non-active,
like you're both saying the same thing essentially.
Oh,
So
oh,
yeah, I think you're both in agreement here, where it's like
okay.
the caloric daily calories shouldn't fluctuate based on activity levels. Even if there's a wearable attached and it's estimating caloric burn and then making adjustments, one thing we know, and if you want to check out the work of Dr. Grant Tinsley, he's the expert in this area as far as I'm concerned in terms of wearables as well as uh, at-home fitness equipment in terms of estimating body composition, things like that. His lab does a lot of this work. Uh, I think one of his most recent posts was talking about how wearables are still kind of crap at estimating caloric burn, something like an error factor of 30 to 50%. So if your person is adding in those calories, it says, oh yeah, your spin class burned 800 calories, therefore you add that back in to your daily total and then eat that additional amount. That can have a significant impact if we assume that the accuracy is not all there, and we don't have the evidence to suggest so far that at least consumer grade wearables can do that job really well. So from what Jeanette is saying and Jason, you're both, I think, in agreement here that shouldn't add that back in, which is the previous coach's error and something that you get to address this time around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some additional thoughts here. So you were asking essentially, does ProCoach have an inbuilt calorie tracking software? We do not track calories in ProCoach. We track hand portions and then other eating behaviors. So as someone who uses ProCoach, but also has clients who use other apps like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or other apps to track levels of either fitness or another practice that we're working on that doesn't fit super well into ProCoach, my suggestion here is have them take a screenshot of either the daily summary or the weekly summary. I normally go weekly, and then we just use that to inform our conversation and the next check-in. So normally I'll say, hey, if we're meeting on Thursday, by Thursday morning, if you can send that in so I can review it before our conversation. That's about the insight that I'm looking for from a data specific standpoint. And then that gives me an insight to say, hey, where were their calories and their macros tracked over the week? Does it look like it's in alignment with what we had discussed? If it's above, is this reflected in their changes from their body comp stats? Or is this kind of below and we're noticing a downward trend, and then great. From there, we'll take that into conversation and then make reasonable adjustments according to what we see from that data. Another thing I would add to this conversation is you mentioned they were previously using MyFitnessPal. They were not disturbed by using it. I would actually go one level deeper here and ask the question, did they enjoy using it? Is it something that they want to use long term? Are they looking to build skills outside of the need to track all of their food? Which is something that people will, in my experience at least, do for a little while. They'll kind of put up with it, but very few people enjoy it. And the people who really enjoy it, that's also kind of a red flag for me in terms of, is this a sustainable behavior? Is there some other kind of compensation happening here because we're really looking for a sense of control? Uh, Not always the case, but there are some folks where I've noticed it's like, oh yeah, some of your food choices, your language, and your behaviors related to exercise and nutrition feel like they're bordering on that orthorexic place where it's like we're really focused on eating clean, hitting all our calories and our macros, but the human and joyful side of nutrition seems to be missing here a little bit. So that was maybe something in the conversation you might want to explore with her. It's like, hey, are you looking to build other skills? And if so, is there a way that we can continue to move you forward from a body recomposition standpoint, but doesn't require you to participate in a behavior that you just kind of tolerate?
Okay, well, this brings up a lot of thoughts. I mean, I'm using MyFitnessPal. I recently did, my bikini fitness competition and obviously was tracking very tightly. And on the other side of it, I'm still tracking because I'm in maintenance and it's important to me to stay at a certain level for my job. Um, I do it in a way where, like, you know, it's 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 just without doing it, I know it would be a slippery slope, you know. It keeps me accountable. Um, I I I also am thinking about things that she said and that other people have said that are red flags that make me want to help them to do something more sustainable. Okay, for example, she said something like, wait, I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, it wasn't so much. Like some people, they want something delivered to them that I think is completely unsustainable. I'm not going to give you a diet and tell you what time to eat and exactly what to eat because that's just making you a robot for however many months. And then after that, you're going to be completely like, like a deer in headlights once you're out in the real world by yourself. I had another person ask me about pills, and I was like, no. So like when people want these kind of things, that to me is like opportunities to teach them hand portions and habits and like, let's start in this much healthier place. She's not showing anything like that. And uh she I mean, I guess maybe she's open to doing hand portions. I just don't know what's how do I decide what's the
Gotcha.
precision nutrition way?
So I want to rephrase that from what is the precision nutrition way to the sweat with Jeanette way. That is
Okay.
probably a more important conversation for you to determine as opposed to for us to kind of automate this for you. And what you bring up is essentially some of the scenarios you shared there are kind of the fully aware to the fully automated spectrum. Fully automated would be think of our professional athletes or people where someone is paying you a lot of money to look a certain way. Full automation makes a lot of sense here. You have a professional chef, a dietitian, potentially someone, we're going to call them in the pharmacology department of your health and fitness, and they are all working together to tell you, put this in your body at this time in this amount. You probably a trainer is involved as well, and that is an approach that people can take. This is the full Kumail Nanjiani. Like your body is going to look radically different in a very specific time frame, so that you can cash that paycheck and then pay all of us. That's
Mm-hmm.
how this job works. The average person does not need that. Where you even mentioned kind of yourself as a figure athlete, you are someone who is on that spectrum as well, probably a little bit closer to that fully automated place than most people will be. You are also exposed to PN, so you know that building awareness and having other tools that require less precision and less of them being fully invested in the process also makes sense. So it doesn't sound like delivering meal plans and pills are part of your coaching experience, but they make sense for some people. So we'll leave space for those humans, even though 95% of the people we ever work with are never going to need those things. And you, as a coach, don't really have to have full awareness and insight into them. If someone comes and asks, hey, is that something you do? You can be like, nope, but I can potentially point you to my colleagues who do. And having those people around is also useful just to kind of get the insight as like an academic experience to understand why and how people do those things. It's cool for us as nutrition nerds, but most of our people are not going to need it. On the other side of that, uh, we start to go more towards the awareness side. And it seems like you're currently gravitating towards helping your clients build more awareness. That's where things like hand portions come in. That's where things like eating, hunger and awareness in our behaviors come in. Uh, and that is more in alignment with where PN typically sits for our clients on that spectrum as well. One other thing I want to add for it, as a PN booster here is that uh, our goal is to meet the client where they're at. So kind of triangulating between, hey, here is Jeanette, and this is what she offers as a coach. Here's the client, here's what they're looking for. And then here's PN and kind of like where we also plant our flag. What we're typically looking for is what is enough awareness? And I mean, maybe if we had gone back 15 years and examined our where we'd end up as a company, precision nutrition, maybe not our name. We're like precise enough nutrition would have been a more accurate name. And it looks like that's kind of where you're trying to help your client now as well. So they have a skill set that is very useful. You can continue to lean on that. If you want to present them another way of doing things, you have that through your PN coaching. I would have that conversation with the client and say, hey, based on your previous experience, I know that you want more connection with your coach. You're skilled with using MyFitnessPal. Is that something you want to continue to use, or do you want to explore awareness in other avenues? If so, let's have that conversation. If not, we can continue to use MyFitnessPal, and that will likely get you to move in the direction that you want, making some fine-tune adjustments along the way. Because as noted, previous coach didn't do that, and you don't want to make the same mistake.
What if she says, what do you think? You're the coach.
Then it is a likely scenario that she may solicit some feedback from you. Uh, and you can pose it as an experiment. It's like, hey, we can start with what you're previously aware of. There's no need for us to completely reinvent the wheel right now. If there are some habits, or if we notice that you're running into some friction with some of these things, I have some other things in my back pocket that we can pull up. But for right now, let's start with from a starting point that has more familiarity. How does that sound for you?
Yeah. It's an experiment. We can experiment with different approaches too.
Mhm. Yeah, you're not locked into this one thing. They come with a certain skill set. You also have skills that you can impart onto them. It's just whether they want to walk that path with you, or if they're like, hey, I'm here for a really specific thing. I just want that specific thing plus more one-on-one time or more face time.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Cool. Does that give you some insight for your question there? And then before we wrap up, any additional insight from our coaching team here?
One thing I just wanted to add onto that real quick, Jeremy,
Please.
is most of the time when clients say, well, you're the coach, what do you suggest? The kind of underlying sentiment is that one way is better than the other, or that one is right and one is wrong.
Mhm.
And so sometimes just having the conversation with them that both approaches are perfectly fine and it's personal preference. So it doesn't really matter which way they go. It's just a matter of figuring out which one is going to work best for them.
Yeah.
And that's where the experiment language can come in as well.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen, for wrapping that up and putting a nice bow on it. Jeanette, any additional questions for today before we move on?
Like about this person?
Not necessarily.
I mean, I think I had another question on there too. Well, I do want to follow up that like the question from last week, with the stress eating. I kicked it off with her and she felt really good about it. Like just felt like confident, ready, willing, and able, and uh like she felt empowered versus overwhelmed, which I'll admit, I think I overwhelmed her before because, I was going with too much. So I dialed it way back. And so that was like, thanks for your help with that. They helped me last week with just the stress eating, and then, yeah, all the feedback on, I told her that thing too about stopping halfway through. Like go ahead and overeat, or go
Also,
ahead.
halftime game is super useful.
Yeah, go ahead and stress eat and then stop halfway. So yeah, at least that was a good start with her. Yeah, I had another question that I threw up on there that was just like someone who didn't want to give her age. So she just said over 50. And I was like, how important is it to like know their age so I can calculate stuff? And like for the most part on the coach Facebook group, they were like, it was mixed, but I think ultimately it was like you can start without knowing the exact age because it's going to be based on your results.
Gotcha. Question for you here. Did this conversation come up when they were filling out the
Mhm,
pro coach intake form?
mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there's some specific feedback here, and there's also some more broad feedback here. Uh, you will potentially get some folks who are sensitive to sharing any data. So whether it's age or medical history, or I've had a client where in the intake form, we ask, are you a caregiver uh, to either like parents or children? And then it asks for some follow-up information, and they were very concerned about sharing that information. I
Yeah.
don't fully understand their concern. At first, it was a little bit laughable to me because I thought it's like this is very minorly going to impact our overall coaching approach. But then I took a second to think about it, and it's like from a data security standpoint, we have more of these kind of objections. People are concerned about, hey, how is PN storing my data? How much can I actively share with them and know that it's like it's not going to end up somewhere on the dark web? It's like maybe it's more of a concern than I realized at the time, but it seems like your client's concern would maybe fall under a similar blanket. It's just like folks are concerned about me keeping their data or storing their data. One, I'll say from PN side of things, at least if you're using ProCoach, we are fully up to date and in full compliance with uh, the latest requirements. And PN actually goes above and beyond and uses more international requirements for storing data. So we're good on that front. So you can assure clients that uh, if there's a measure to take, we have taken it. That being said, if your client, their stumbling point is like, I don't want to tell you how many kids I have, or I don't want to tell you a specific point of data, they can just put in anything for right now. Because as we know, there's very likely a scenario where one singular data point is going to influence the entire coaching approach. And a lot of the things that you need to know as a coach, you will learn as you're working with them. So for yours, the date is going to be a little bit more challenging, or their age is going to be a little bit more challenging, particularly because if you need to pop it into a macro calculator or like your PN calculator. But having a range, as folks said, is probably fine. So whether, as long as you know kind of like what decade this person is, that's probably going to be the biggest deciding factor there. So you can be off by quite a bit. Uh, you can even tell them it's like, hey, I put you as 42, and just make their heart flutter and they'll feel really good about it. And you'll probably get a good enough estimate.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm going to use that line.
There you go.
Um, just a general, I would love to hear, like I'm new to Pro Coach and I feel like I'm like experimenting with my clients, right? I'm learning on them. Um with all good intentions, and I'm giving them discounted rate at this point, but I'm learning as I go. And what I'm learning is like, okay, I put the habits in. Well, I think I finished the intake, the kickoff call, and then she didn't see her habits because it was, I think yeah, I thought I put the habit in, but I didn't. When I checked it, I had to like do more. Um, is there a good way for me to like make less mistakes, or I don't know, like, uh, should I put myself through it as a client?
Yep.
Um, just to have a better handle on the platform itself. Um, the few things I picked up is like Jeremy, last time you were like, you don't give adults homework. That landed for me. So I'm not going to be
Mhm.
assigning articles, but they have access and she saw it so she can feel free. Um, the second thing I picked up personally is like the intake form. I'm just looking for whatever they say 5 for. That's like I'm attracted to, like that's their emergency. We need to like put out those fires of like things that they're struggling with. They're identifying easily for me where we're going to start.
Mhm.
Um,
There are at least more likely areas for them to start. Whether they're ready and willing and able to start on those things is not always the case, but you at least know that I should bring those up in conversation and dig a little bit deeper there to understand how kind of fluid is the situation. Are they ready to make change? Do they want to make change there? Because they're clearly indicating that it's like an area of concern. Then you can qualify that with them.
okay. Yeah. So I'm just wanting to learn from your more experienced, you know, doing this.
Well, I mean, you have the two most qualified people here in this call to answer that question. So I'll toss this
Yeah.
one to Stephen.
Yeah, with all the reps you've gotten in, what are your like uh recommendations, or like your go-to, your methodologies?
Yeah. So, just for context, Jeanette, I day one pro coach user. I've been pro coach literally since I started. I also worked at PN for 2 years as part of the pro coach team. So me and Jeremy would lead all the pro coach calls. So if you ever have questions, feel free to tag either one of us in the group. But a couple things I would do. Number one is definitely add yourself as a client.
Okay.
That way you can actually see things, because what that's going to allow you to do is if you're not sure about something, like you're like, oh, if I do this, can my client see it? Do it on your account and then go as a client and see if you can see it. And now
Okay.
you'll know like automatically. You don't have to like get in the group, hope that somebody sees it, answers the question. You can just find out in like 5 seconds. So
Okay.
that's the first thing I would do. Plus, it gets you familiar. And if your client's ever having issues, it makes it super easy for you to do a screen record on your phone and
Hmm.
show them how to use the app. I actually did that to set up my initial videos. Like I had videos to walk people through using the app, and that's how I actually created those. Was just screen recording my client app.
Oh, okay. So you created your own like tutorial by screen recording your experience for them to set up their accounts.
Yeah, so that way when they went in, there's like a video that I had on, like, say if I had that person tracking hand portions, here's how you go in and track your hand portions. Here's how you update that throughout the day. Here's how to use the food log. Here's how to access your resources. So you can literally create videos for separate things, or you can make one long training video. Completely up to you how you want to do that in your business. I personally found it easier with my clients to have very short 1 to 2 minute videos for each subject, so that that way they only watched the ones that were relevant to them in the moment. You also, Jeremy can give you the link for it, but we did a walkthrough video of ProCoach
I think I
that,
watched it. You led it, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful just in terms of getting you familiar with the general flow of the software and making sure that you're not missing steps and things, so that you don't end up having situations like I'm assuming what you probably did, forgot to close out the check-in or go all the way through it or something like that, or sometimes like it's not super clear, like, oh, I thought I added this, but I didn't actually drag it over. So little things like that, having the walkthrough video is really helpful for.
Okay.
So you can always go back and revisit that as well. And also, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there is a learning center for
Mhm.
ProCoach. that
Okay.
has a lot of really good articles, and most of those articles have demo videos in them as well.
Okay. Yeah. I saw the Learning Center and played with it a little bit. Okay.
Cool. That was a very comprehensive answer there. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight. One thing I will add, you mentioned the idea of it feels like you're practicing with your clients right now. This is
Mhm.
good. If you go to a doctor's office, you're visiting that doctor's practice. If you work with a lawyer, they have a law practice. You are a coach, this is your coaching practice. You are constantly adding new information. You are using the best information and resources you have available to you right now. But I'm assuming in 5 years from now, your process may look significantly different because this is an evolving, living thing, your practice. So they're lucky to get you on the cheap, but that won't always be the case. So you can let some of that guilt go.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. I actually have to leave a little bit early for today, so we have a few more minutes before we close out. Anything that, any final questions or comments before we close out for today?
So Jason, you're also like an OG precision nutrition coach?
I recently completed my level 1.
Okay, gotcha.
So, am I supposed to be on this call right now?
No, you are. You are.
You're good. No,
Because
no.
Jared
Jason just has the
I
aura of a veteran.
No, well, I coached many, many, many years ago, and but now I'm fully committed to doing this, like fully committed. Um, so I've used MyFitnessPal. I love MyFitnessPal just because, for me, or I think for clients, I'm starting to coach some clients now. I think it's just an eye opener for them for when they see, and I haven't used any of the other apps, but when they see how much they're actually consuming after they measure it out and put it in, they really, it's just to visually see it, it's an eye opener for them. And I think that for people who want to lose weight, at least, I think that's an initial um, thing I like about it so far.
it's so individual, isn't it?
Mhm.
I think it works when the person has access to the measuring tools. And then when they don't, it's really not that realistic, even if they have the best of intentions. So, like, I'm thinking of my, very specific clients. Fiona is in a corporate cafeteria, and hand portions just make much more sense for her because she's not going to have a scale and tablespoons and cups. And I think it would be in her best benefit to learn hand portions. And then for someone like who I just talked about, who was tracking with this coach that she wants to have, a better relationship with a coach, she has all that stuff. She's like, I've got it all. I'm ready to do it. Um, you know, so I am going to your point, Stephen, like talk to her about what do you want? I'm not going to impose or assume, and give her I guess, do I like present the two choices and how the two approaches would play out so that she could imagine it and then answer based on that?
I would say
Steven,
if
I think
you
this is a you
present,
question.
I would say if you present both options and you kind of give the pluses and the minuses, you're not going to have to answer the question. The client's going to answer it for themselves.
Right. Okay.
I'll finish out with this last kind of thought here. So we had a debate, or a large part of our conversation today was kind of a debate around like MyFitnessPal versus like a more PN-centered approach with hand portions and other behaviors. Consider that everything we're doing here is an attempt to improve awareness. That's all we're looking for. So whether you use a very detailed tracking approach with calories and macros, whether you use a hand portion approach, whether you use a behavioral eating or intuitive eating approach, these are all attempts to improve awareness. And if there is an easier avenue to improve that awareness that helps them make choices that they want to make more regularly, that is typically the path that I would encourage. And I think most clients would also prefer to take that path. So it's like we can do the hardest thing. And it's like, great, you learned this really advanced skill. But if I could have gotten you there on a much easier path, I'm personally going to take that path. And if my client is also happier to walk that path, then that's what I would often encourage for coaches to take. And unfortunately, I have to cut us off a little bit early for today. But again, thank you folks for bringing your insight and bringing your questions. And then I think we're back next on, I really should have this written down before I go into this question every time.
It's
I
okay.
think we're
Yeah.
back
15th?
next on July 15th at
15th,
11 a.m.
18th, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I'll see
Thank
you when
you.
I see you. But anyway, thank you, gang. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
Great.
Bye.
I look forward to it. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.